Yeah, this session is just to talk about what are large language models and how it is being used in a low code context and how you can build chatbots very quickly. So I'll try to do a demo as well. And I would like to have this session a bit interactive, so I might put some polls and then would like to understand uh, your views on certain questions as well. If that's all right, so as I told, what we are going to talk today is like what is artificial narrow intelligence, because general intelligence is quite far away. So we are just focusing on narrow intelligence. What are some scenarios, responsible use of technology, and probably a demo, right? So to start with, like, what is artificial narrow intelligence? So my take on artificial narrow intelligence is it has three components. One is your data set, then you have the learning algorithm, and then you try to predict something. So the aim of artificial narrow intelligence is just to have a general prediction manner, uh, and you don't need to build. Uh, the goal should not be memorize every data point and then try to respond, right? So with this as a context, let me just switch over to the poll. Okay, so if you guys are on phone, you can scan the QR code. And the first question I have to this audience would be, what algorithms are you aware of? I mean, it's all right if you guys don't want to answer, we can just move to the content as well, but I'll give few minutes. I can see a lot of large language model, GPT, Lalama. I'll share the infographics or the word cloud later. Karen, probably you can share that with everyone who has registered. So I'll I'll probably move to the next content. So when I say machine learning, there are three main buckets of machine learning, and I'm sure as part of our society you would have heard about this in some context. And I was surprised by someone giving an answer none. So I'm sure the person who was given none also knows something about algorithms. So if I look into machine learning, there are three buckets. The first bucket is supervised learning. So supervised learning is a place where you have all the data perfectly labeled. You know, it could be a continuous or a numerical variable, and you would basically predict actions which is mapped against the independent variable. So one example could be price of a house in Liverpool, right? So we might typically use a regression model to do that. The second one is unsupervised learning. So here you have labeled data, but you are trying to find pattern between or correlation between the data points, and you're trying to group those data points together. So it's called unsupervised learning. So you're not giving a specific algorithm. You're just trying to do uh, grouping of data points which has similar correlation, and then you're trying to use that model to predict something. So I'm sure you guys would have heard about k-mean clustering or principal component analysis, which is widely used with segmentation problem. uh, the other example could be association, where like when you go to Amazon web page and you buy something and it says like customer who have liked this have also ordered this, or it just gives you a recommendation like when you buy a notebook, please consider buying a pen. So that algorithm is unsupervised, and it is called association. Now, the third bucket is optimization, which I'm sure, being part of our society, you would have heard about a lot of use cases. And in optimization, traditionally, we would have gone with classical optimization, which is a min-max problem. You would have objective function. It could be maximizing something or minimizing the cost. and then you basically try to simulate and find the best global or local solution for your problem. So that is classic optimization. And then there is a new relatively new space which is called reinforcement learning, where you basically penalize the model outcome as a good or bad, and based on that you will try to fine tune the model. And it is one of those key principle which basically has evolved the deep learning space. So with that, let me try to get the next question. Again, it's a bit of exercise. If you guys feel that you don't need to do it, uh, happy to skip this. But the idea here is just for you guys to figure out like what algorithm might be used for what problems, and the same problem can be solved by any algorithm. I have few answers, so I'll probably wait for like 10 or 15 answers, and then we can move to the next topic. And if you have questions, please put it in the chat. I'll try to answer that as well. All right, I have about 10 answers, so I'll just move to the next uh, slide. So most of the chat gpt or any large language model is being built or inspired based on human brain. The inspiration was how our human brain neuron works. So typically you would have multiple inputs to a neuron node, and each input would be multiplied by some uh, weights, and the sum of all the inputs might be the uh, the total value for a particular feature. And then what they do is they do a bias correction on top of that total value, and then they might do a sigmoid function just to get the value as 0 or 1. So if the value is 0, then it is not activated neuron, or if the value is 1, it is called activated neuron. So this is how our brain work at a very nano smallest building block level. But in reality, what happens is this is how a large language model would look like. And you look into like some of the answers that I saw in the previous poll was people know about Gork or ChatGPT. The number of neuron or the number of dots is about like 4.5 trillion. So what does that mean is it has 4.5 trillion features, and whenever you give an input, something like, "Hey, can you create a joke, a knock knock joke for me?" It basically goes through 4.5 trillion layers to give you an output. Now, the beauty of the current technology is the compute has become much cheaper, and the data with which that particular model is trained has been uh, web scrapped or picked without the consent. So there are some legal topics which uh, which questions the output. But having said that, the technology as such can do faster processing because it has a lot of data context with it. So now the next question I had was more specific about generative AI. So I know large language model is part of generative AI landscape, but what is your view on generative AI? All right, I have like few responses, and most of them are either in beginner or intermediate bucket. So with that, so typically, large language model is an intersection between deep learning, which is basically the neural network inspired algorithm architecture, and natural language processing. And it is a subset of machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. So Currently, you have like text generators like ChatGPT, which consumes text as an input and it will provide you text as an output. Uh, all the models are really good with text to text generation. Uh, Now the image text to image or image to image generation is also very matured, and those type of LLM models are image generators. Uh, you have like DALI, which is the Microsoft one. Even the Gork, you can give text or images and you can ask it to enhance images. So they are pretty matured from the functional use case point of view. Uh, Models like Sora, uh, which are basically text to video generator, are also a bit matured, but again, it's not as matured compared to text generator or image generator. And then, of course, you have speech synthesizer as well, where you can use text to audio and generate audio. So these are different flavors of large language models that we have. So under the hood, what happens when you ask, you know, you go to ChatGPT or Gork and you give a prompt. So what happens is the first step is it basically uh, takes your statement or prompt and it basically tries to tokenize. Now, tokens are part of the word or basic unit with 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 which the algorithm will try to understand the context with which you are trying to uh, ask or prompt. Once they break that sentence into smaller chunks, then it tries to do something called observing the correlation between the words that you have prompted against their training data set, the 4.5 trillion layers of features that is already been pre-trained. Then what it does is it tries to associate word, like if I say playing is always associated with football or cricket or whatever the context is with respect to your prompt. Now once that is done, then it does something called word embedding, where it thinks that if I say playing, these are the 10 or 15 words which I can associate it with that word. And then it tries to build a map. So it does a similarity embedding, and then it basically creates a probability relationship and then it generates the text. Now I'll give you a small uh, article in the chat which I would request you guys to read or take it offline, and it gives you, it's a beautiful article by Finance Time, and it basically talks about how large language model work in a text to text context. But under the hood, this is what it does. Yeah, I've just put this in chat as well. So with that, I have a question for you guys, which is like, where do you see generative AI being, uh, like, what are the potential benefits of using generative AI, and what are you most excited about? I'm sure most of us would have tried ChatGPT. So, all right, lot of answers are around improving efficiency and personalization of experience. So, let me try to do a little bit demo on. Uh, okay, so before that, so I'm sure you all would have heard the term agents. Now there are three buckets of agents. So if an automation is just helping you with some knowledge assistant task, like I have a chatbot which runs on our society website, and if I need to know about like the different types of membership or different types of benefits for a specific membership, then it is, the knowledge is already there, and all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use a LLM or a chatbot, which basically retrieves information based on the prompt that I'm asking. So that is the first category where I talk about chatbot, and I'll probably try to demo that now after this slide. The second part of the use of agent is your task assistant. So what does that mean is, say suppose you are on the OR Society website, and you are asking like, hey, I am interested in knowing about large language model. Are there any events or conferences that is planned in, say, November, and could you sign me up? So the first task of that is, it will the agent would basically try to go through the knowledge. It will find out the relevant seminars or conferences with respect to your prompt, and then because you have instructed the agent to go and do something which is like sign me up, it'll go and do that, but it'll ask for your confirmation. So you're putting a human in loop saying like, hey, these are the 5 courses in November. Can you confirm which one do you want me to book? And then you will select like, okay, book A, B, and then it'll do it after you confirm. So that is the second part where the agent is behaving like your task assistant. The the third one is autonomous agent, and this is what is in news by all the software vendors, where they show the north star of like at some point everything will be autonomous, and uh, only for exception you will have a human in loop. What I mean by that is, say suppose the agent know exactly what Bala wants, looking at his pattern of his meetings and learning, it automatically goes, finds out what courses are available, and it will sign up uh, uh, for me without even my consent. So it is autonomously doing, and it's a north star, and it's it's a north star being sold, and we are not yet there yet because of all the regulatory or compliance element in implementing the technology. So these are the three different kinds of agent, and in today's demo, I'll probably show the knowledge assistant agent. So I will try to reshare my screen. All right. So I'm using a technology called Copilot Studio. So this is a conversational chatbot platform, and this is a low-code platform with which what I'm going to do is, uh, this is our Operation Research Society website. It has a lot of knowledge and information, and all I'm trying to do is build a chatbot which at some point can be embedded into this website. I hope there is no chatbot here. No, it is not. So what I'll do is I'll start uh, creating a new agent. uh, Here you can basically configure either you can use a large language model to create it, or you can do a configuration. So I'm going to say this is OR Society demo bot. Okay. So the first two attributes are basically talking about what is the name of the bot and then what is a short description of the bot. The third one is where you're basically giving some sort of instruction or fine tuning on how the response should look like. So as let's see if how it works. I'm also trying it for the first time, and then here is the place where I'm going to say, uh, go to this page and add knowledge. So it takes about few seconds. And once I confirm, so at the back end, what it does is it goes through this website, it does a web crawl, and then it tries to create a knowledge graph. So within the model, it will try to understand like what are the different tabs, what are the topics that is available in each tab, and it will try to index. So the agent is created. So I'll just say hi. So what this low code platform allows us to do is, so it has all pre-built topics. So what I mean by that is, uh, whenever you create an agent, so these are all the like pre-built topics that is available. You don't need to sit and configure or create. There are triggers, and you can basically customize every such topic of this. Uh, what can you So what for this question, what it has done is it has basically gone to the knowledge source, and you can see the citation here. So if I click the citation, it basically it has pulled the information uh, from here. So so now I am asking the model to go and retrieve and give me like a small comparison of what are the different types of membership. I hope these are the types: full membership, general membership, community membership. Yeah. Also, okay, it has missed out student membership and corporate membership, which means I need to sit and fine tune the model. Uh, so it has gone through the website, it has done some level of scrolling, and it has just picked up few events for which more information is indexed, and it has just represented that. So within like few minutes, we were able to spin up this a little chat bot, and we were able to test that with this as a knowledge source. So this is one of the use case, the conversational UI use case, which a lot of enterprises are exploring. And that's the demo I wanted to show. And I thought I'll leave the last 20 minutes for questions or conversation. Yeah, I'm looking at the chat as well. I don't see any question.
Uh, okay, I've got a question.
Sure.
Uh,
Hey,
so,
John.
so, so Bala, what do you use? What do you use this for?
So there are a lot of use cases, John. So if there are training manuals, so if you are building a new system and if you need to onboard users, so all the standard operating procedures would be made as a knowledge repository, and that particular conversational chatbot can be embedded in the software itself. So if I'm adding a new invoice system, and there are certain screens where certain roles have to navigate, So that would be captured as a SOP. The SOP will be used as a knowledge, and then the chatbot will basically guide the user. Like step one, go to the screen. Step two, look for this value, and so forth. So that is one type of use case. The other type of use case is it could be an embedded experience for a user using a software, and if the user is not able to proceed further, then it can basically say, hey, can you raise a ticket in a service management portal so that someone can triage the issue that I am facing. uh,
And,
or it could be like any other chatbot in the website, like you can
yeah,
ask
I
about
mean,
your orders.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, that wasn't necessarily quite the question. It was more, rather than what would you use this specific tool for, it was more what do you use AI for, or generative AI for in your everyday work?
Uh, so generative AI, it's a broader topic. So for personal productivity, I use a lot. So I use Copilot a lot because a lot of my documentation, my comms with my team and collaborative documentation is on SharePoint or on emails. So if someone asks me saying like, "Hey, last month we spoke about this design. Can you quickly refresh or give me a view?" Instead of me going into uh, the emails or chat history, I just use Copilot because Copilot has the knowledge graph, and it can trace back and it can give me citation, and I'm more confident on it. uh, if I need to build software architecture documentation, again I use Copilot a lot. I'll probably give my code, and it'll ask it to basically write like a system design, because the code is still written by me. So instead of me spending hours on typing everything, I'll ask probably, this is the template, can you fill the template? It'll do that for me. So yeah, for personal use, yes. But for enterprise process, we need to go through the responsible AI team. We have to make sure that uh, the use case that is under consideration goes through like security, data privacy, legal, IP, all those topics, and only after that we go with the implementation of large language model. But as I said in the beginning, not every problem needs a large language model. So if it is forecasting, I would probably do with you know classical forecasting, time series forecasting, or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, hi, Rosemary. Can't hear you. I can see your hand up. Or you can type the question.
Try that.
Yep.
Is that better? I don't
Yep.
know what was happening there. Oh, it's my phone. I've dialed in on my phone, even though my Zoom is on my desktop now. I'm not. The two won't sync together. So my question was like that. Everything you're saying about more traditional AI models, and then the use of Gen AI for personal productivity, or for the kind of use cases where you have to take it through your responsible AI governance. I recognise all of that, and we're doing a lot of that. I'm curious to how close you think we are to using or having like agentic AI in a corporate setting, because I think I hear a lot of, this is what it's going to be all about. This is where we're going to really unlock the value, and we should have agentic AI doing this, that, and the other. But I don't know how much of that is like, well, it'll take ages to kind of get it working and sort out all the kind of legal and privacy and all the concerns about using it like that, or whether it will kind of move as rapidly as it feels like the kind of enabling of Gen AI in the kind of use cases we've talked about has happened.
Again, it depends. So there are three key levers when you are trying to implement a systemic solution, right? So one is your user base. You need to protect the user, or your if you're argumenting a user workflow, then you need to protect that. So that is where you will typically talk to like compliance and data privacy. Again, it depends on which geography you are in. Today, I think US had a big shift towards like, let us scan all the AI Act, which was put by Biden, and let's allow people to do whatever they want to do. That's what US stand is, but European is more humanitarian, protecting the creativity or IP and stuff like that. So that is the first lever. So if your process or if your agentic AI blueprint touches anything to do with high security or heavy personalization, I would avoid it, because uh, you would run into trouble quickly from compliance point of view.
Hmm.
If your process is sensitive, like if it is audited by FCA, or uh, if your financial forecasting or anything which goes into public will cause reputation reputation damage, again I would avoid uh, Gen AI for that agentic use case. And the third one I would say is like anything which is generic, like creating a service now ticket. That is again your task assistant basically. You are still human in loop, so you have a human in loop to review it, and then you are asking the system to go and do something. So if you are in the human in loop space, I think you are still using human in loop as a stage gate, and then you are reviewing, and then you are authorizing an agent to do something. I
So,
hope
so
I
you
have
think we're
answered.
pretty. So you think we're pretty close maybe to using them where you've got that sort of intermediate stage where you've got a human in the loop, but the kind of full blown is probably
I think it's a north
forever
star.
or some time off due to some of the other considerations.
I mean, I have been working with this technology for last couple of years. I have never heard an enterprise success story where someone has said like, "Hey, I have automated end-to-end invoice processing where the finance team don't even log into the system."
Yeah.
So just because
I
the
could
technology,
imagine something like if you were thinking about like recruitment, and so you've got someone
no.
new comes in, could you have an agentic bot that says, right, okay, can you set this person up with these accesses, and then it goes away and it does all the things and gets
Uh,
them set up, for
again,
example?
yeah, that could be one interesting use case, but then again there is a human in loop, right? So if you are recruiting someone, you are adding you as a, so there should be a trigger, right? So I have hired someone and I'm approving something somewhere which would be the trigger for onboarding a user,
Yeah,
right? So there is still a little bit of human in loop. But yeah, in just because technology can do doesn't mean we have to use it, if
yeah.
that makes sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so there is a question on process model. Okay, so I have not tried business process model diagram interpretation, Trevor. I'll give a try and I'll probably circle back. But most of my documentation is more to do with software architecture, and it is pretty good because most of the uh, software as a service or platform as a service component are well documented. It's there in either mslearn.com or someone has put it in GitHub, so we are able to leverage that for uh, workload that needs to be done. And so I did a small writing. Let me show you or share something that I have done. One of the things that we I do quite frequently is threat modeling. So I've used large language model to create an initial uh, draft of threat modeling, and it just gives me like what is the asset in the architecture diagram, what are the threat agent, what is the recommendation, and some sort of priority. And using that output, I basically work with the infosec team to understand the risk and then try to create the mitigation. So here is one example that I can share. Uh, Creation of user stories from process diagram. It's quite matured. Again, so have passed the process diagram or zip code diagram into a large language model, and it has spit like what are the features or what are the user stories, what are the acceptance criterias that someone needs to think about. And it has helped product owners a lot by saving time of typing and coming up with the content. Again, all these are working draft. That's how I will position. So if you have a large language model, you would first try to ground it to your specific use case, and then basically you would create a working draft where you will still review it, because you know the process much better. I hope I have answered, Trevor.
Okay, Bala, thank you very much indeed. I'll experiment further.
I will also give a try. I'm sure it is matured, but yeah, I don't have an answer. Yeah, if we don't have questions, I can give back 15 minutes.
Hi, Bala. It's Phil here.
Hi, Phil.
I can't find where the menu is to raise your hand. Sorry.
No problem.
My question would be, have you tried using Copilot to write some Python code for you? And what did
Uh,
you think of its efforts?
so the answer is yes, but you also need to know how to write. So one of the exercise that I did in one of the workshop was I had like about 20 odd participants with mixed personas, and then the question was, can you create a store procedure to categorize an order priority? So if the order value is greater than $1,000, put it as a high priority. If the order value is less than 10, then it is the medium or low or whatever that categorization is. I'll share the notes as well. So interestingly, people who didn't have the coding memory, they just used Copilot or Chat GPT, and the output of that was a SQL store procedure with if else statement, right? Now, the same question I asked who were like developers, hardcore developers, and what they did is when they prompted, they basically said, can you use a switch statement or a case statement while building the store procedure? Now, if you are a developer, you know that switch and case is much easier to manage, change, maintain, less compute. Uh, and how did you know that? Because they had that muscle memory. They had tried if else, they know it doesn't work. So uh, there is an element of art of prompting to get your code as well. And again, GitHub uh, large language model is really good in building the code, but when you try to systemize and scale, you need to think about a lot of other operational element which would come by practice. So there is a strategy in my team. What we generally do is we do code free Friday. So the idea is you will not use GitHub Copilot at all. You will pick a problem and you will try to solve it, or we do a peer review of a code which is generated by GitHub. So we basically will ask a developer to explain that code and then challenge like uh, why it can't be done in some other way. So it's very important for us to build a muscle memory, Phil, and that is only possible when you sit and code, unfortunately.
Yeah, sit and code, but also talk together in groups.
Absolutely.
Huddles, the 3 in a box, the 5 in a box, that type of idea, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the mosh pit where you could. So these are really relying upon the more human interactive agile methods, talking things out, stepping things through, and using the tools to basically store all of the masses of detail that you end up gathering. You know, all the small components and pieces. Some you might miss, and it could be the key to simplifying or solving a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. So what I've done is in the chat, I have copied two blogs, which is the outcome of my workshop. So one, I'm just talking about technology, how cool it is. You can use GitHub Copilot to generate the code, but the next one talks about the human side, what you need to think about, you know, using those technologies, how you can like uh, rethink about skilling up the team, and also talk about like the implication about, you know, property infringement, because all these code will use open source components, and there are licensing terms where if you are using like GPL3, you need to declare or give a thank note or something like that, which this code will never do. So there is a bit of human upskilling as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, I guess, Karen, we don't have any more questions, so
Okay, well, thank you very much, Bala, for today's talk. It's gone down very, very well, and it's been well received. And if you're happy to, I can share the links that you've shared in the chat with those that have registered today in an email tomorrow.
yeah, I'm happy to send a deck as well, Karen, if
Lovely.
Thank you. That would be appreciated.
no problem.
Lovely. Thank you very much for today,
All right.
Bala.
Have a lovely evening.
Thanks a lot, Bala. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bala. Thanks, everyone, for joining.